Right now, we are about to fund the entire government of the United States as an amendment to a bill about duck hunting. Now, that doesn't strike me as a good way to fund the government or even pass a bill about duck hunting, for that matter.
That was Congressman Matt Gaetz on the passage of a continuing resolution to fund the government to avoid partial shutdown. This is some Republicans' turn against Speaker Mike Johnson. Joining me now is Florida Republican Congressman and member of the House Armed Services and Judiciary Committees, Matt Gaetz. Congressman, welcome.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm at the Trump headquarters in New Hampshire, so maybe the way to get the House Republican Conference to fight a little harder for spending cuts and border security is to have a little more courage. I guess courage is contagious. That's why I'm trying to get Trump back in the White House.
All right, well, Congress punted to March. What will be different in March?
I think that the March circumstance allows us to link up this latter CR and make a demand on the border. It has to. Like, when I'm out in the country, particularly here in New Hampshire, they think it's crazy when they say you're funding a government with no demand that the border be shut down. Like, what government are you funding if the border is so open that millions of people have been released into the interior as a real drain on the system? We were talking about it here with voters. So I think we've got to take the political high ground of a border fight. Mike Johnson has to do that in March. He's told me he will. What if the president, a Democrat, and the Senate, led by Democrats, say whatever you guys pass on the border is dead on arrival? Hey, you know what? I want to live in the world where Joe Biden is trying to explain why the World War II memorial is closed, but the border is open. Like, I want Joe Biden to have to stand up and say, well, you don't get your Social Security check, but watch as these migrants coming over get thousands of dollars every month. Because you know what? The American people seeing that might actually be what it takes to get the real solutions on the border. That stuff they're talking about over in the Senate is nonsense. It is titrated amnesty. It's letting 5,000 people into our country every day. And by the way, that'll be unidirectional. That'll only grow. And so I think we have to take a stand. We have to break the establishment now. We have to make a demand on the border. And that is not the fight that Joe Biden thinks he is if he wants to have it with me.
Is Speaker Mike Johnson's job in jeopardy? Some of your conservative colleagues are making threats.
I don't think so. There are some surgeries after which there's sort of a mandatory recoup time before you can have that exact same surgery again. That's probably how I would view the speakership right now. I do think it's important to not score him the same as Kevin McCarthy. McCarthy had a 4-seat majority. Then we kicked out Santos. McCarthy took his marbles and went home. A guy took a college presidency, and Johnson has a 1-seat majority, which is actually 4 times less powerful than having a 4-seat majority when counting votes. And so we give him probably a little more grace. He also doesn't lie to us. McCarthy had a $50 billion corrupt side deal. Johnson actually clawed back $20 billion of that. Not enough for my liking, but at least we're not making more corrupt side deals. Those are the very things that have led to more inflation, higher prices, and a diminished American economy.
But to be fair to both of them, Republicans don't control Washington. You have a razor-thin majority in the House. What about that?
Well, in the words of Chip Roy, we have a thin majority, but what about we take it out for a spin? Like, what did he say we do something with it? Like, you know who could have given us these continuing resolutions? Nancy Pelosi, probably. So, yeah, it's a thin majority and a tight majority. And you know what? It may not be as operational as it should be until Donald Trump is back to inspire us with the boldness and courage that is necessary. But in the meantime, I think we'll win from districts like mine in the Florida Panhandle to districts like Mike Lawler's in New York. People are sick and tired of watching this invasion happen. And like, if you're a New York Republican, how many times do you have to watch your kids get kicked out of school so that they can house migrants before you say, you know what, I might be in a Biden 10 district, but I'm at least going to fight for the people who sent me here to represent them. That's what I'm trying to get out of my colleagues.
I got to believe that there's some folks at home watching, though, thinking that this is still personal with Kevin McCarthy, that Mike Johnson's doing largely the same things that McCarthy did.
Well, I just disabused you of that, Mike, by explaining that Kevin McCarthy did $50 billion in side deals, and Mike Johnson clawed back $20 billion of that, most of which was actually out of the IRS. Taking money out of the IRS is typically something that Republican voters are in favor of. And so, yeah, while Johnson has not yet engaged the border fight that he must engage for us to keep our majority and for him to keep his job, at least he's peeling back some of the stuff that we had to deal with Kevin McCarthy. So it's not personal. If any person had a $50 billion side deal with Joe Biden and Chuck Schumer, I would view that as disqualifying to continue to lead the Republican team, no matter the size.
All right, so no sign of you and Kevin McCarthy exchanging Christmas cards, Congressman Matt Gaetz?
It's after Christmas. I'll send him a Valentine's Day. How about that?
Fair enough. Thanks for your time. Safe travels.